Welcome to another episode of Sanford Says. I'm Lisa Holder, Chief Communications and Cultural Affairs Administrator for the City of Sanford. And today we have a wonderful guest with us. His name is Brady Lessard. He is actually a former mayor of the City of Sanford and a veteran, United States Army. And he is the Economic Development Director currently for the City of Sanford. Welcome, Brady.
Well, good morning, Lisa. Thank you so much for having me.
And so today's topic is going to be nothing but economic development. It is a major factor in any city, any county, any state, anything. So it's the basis, I think, the foundation of everything. That being said, Brady, can you, and I think this is your first time on the podcast.
It is. It is.
So Brady's office, by the way, for those listening, is in economic development is in the city manager's office at City Hall on the second floor. So it is under the umbrella of the city manager's office along with communications. So let's get to what is, in general, for those that may not know, what is economic development?
Well, that's a great question, Lisa, because I'm often asked that. And I guess economic development, to put it in its simplest form, as it relates to the city of Sanford, my department is charged with developing an environment both external to City Hall and internal to City Hall that allows for businesses, whether they're small businesses, sole proprietors, large businesses, which Sanford has many of as well, giving them an environment where they can grow. And by growing, they create not only opportunities for our residents and folks in our neighboring communities to make a living, but they also generate the taxable values and revenues that are required for building roads, providing police protection, fire protection, recreation programs, senior programs. I could go on and on. Mm-hmm. Bills need to be paid, and the way local governments pay bills, and to a lesser extent our federal government, but we won't go there. Our local governments pay those bills is by taxable values, assessed values that are used to generate revenues annually, in this case, for the city.
Okay, and so the commercial businesses, the commercial industry brings more tax dollars, is that right? Or in a different manner than, because we have all this development here of residential homes, and things like that. Can you just touch on that?
Yeah, sure. Let's talk about residential first. So residents are residential, right? Residents live in the homes, the apartments, and all forms of housing here in the city of Sanford. Our job as public servants is to keep that burden, that tax burden, as light on the residents as possible, okay? And the way you do that is by adding commercial, industrial, and in this case, our goal in my department is clean industrial, clean commercial, light impact industrial that creates those taxable values to balance and as such take some of that tax burden off of the residents and share it with our businesses, right? And over the years, just nationally, we've always argued about who should pay more, residents or businesses. My philosophy is that we share in that burden. Residents, let's say we're talking a single family home with 2 children, right? They generate needs for baseball fields, soccer fields, things of that nature, recreation. They tend to consume a little bit more on the public services, the public safety services, police and fire, than say a commercial warehouse that sits empty 12 hours a day, right? Or something of that nature. So what we've done here in Sanford, and what my job is to continue doing, is kind of share that burden. I wouldn't say equally, because as we move forward, I would like to see much more of that burden shouldered by the commercial side of things, because our residents, as everyone in this country is right now, are faced with some economic difficulties that have created a situation that I think the commercial side of things here in Sanford, and I know we're going to talk about it a little later, but we have the opportunity in Sanford that's quite frankly unique here in Seminole County and Central Florida at large.
Yeah, and so that's a great explanation and description. I always learn things myself on these podcasts. Brady, but can I'd like to know, what was the terminology economic development, or what you're doing like 20 years ago? Or is it new? Has it evolved in your industry and become something, or has it always been there but under a different name? Because sounds like it.
Yeah, so
needed.
I'm glad you used the word industry, because it is a unique component of local governments. And to answer your question, economic development as we currently know it today sprung out of the 70s, really. And it was a look at how governments do business, or at the time may have not been doing business. So to answer your first question, it sprung out of the 70s, and that's where we are. And a lot of things sprung out of the 70s, right? So we won't go there this morning.
Good music, no.
Yeah. But the fact that you use the word industry in it, I would use the word business. I would use the word industry as you did. But it's so important that government always has an ear to the needs of the business community. Because if we do not, that balance I was talking about earlier becomes more difficult to achieve.
Okay. All right. So let's drill down to Sanford specifically. So what's going on here? Where do we want to be under your leadership here, Brady? And like some background, like why Sanford?
So I would start with this. You said under my leadership. Yes, I lead the economic development department, but more importantly, I think, is I follow the business community and the residential community in hearing their needs. And I want to make sure that those are reflected across the board here in Sanford, in the tax policy perspective, the permitting policy perspectives, a number of perspectives. So yes, I lead the department, but I also, part of that charge is to follow the needs of the business and residential community.
Okay, and so speaking of our business and in our community, Sanford is a myriad of different types of industry here, correct? That makes us so wonderful, including an airport, of course,
Yeah.
a mall, and all of that. So where do we want to be? Like where do you see that?
Okay, well, let's take those individually. So the airport. Sanford is blessed with an airport that obviously has roots in naval aviation, which I have an absolute passion for. My dad flew attack fighters back to the 70s and 80s. So let's talk about our airport. Our airport has over 2,000 acres, much of which is unused currently. Mm-hmm. So it's a prime opportunity for bringing in that clean industrial workforce type product that we mentioned earlier. On the passenger side of things, I remember you mentioned I was mayor. I also had hair when I was mayor. So, but you look at our passenger traffic. When I was first elected, there were 30,000, 40,000 passengers coming into the Sanford Airport a year. This year will welcome 3 million. Yeah. So you put that in perspective, it's a tremendous, tremendous opportunity for economic growth, but also sustainability.
Right.
I think that one of the criticisms or questions I'll hear out in speaking engagements and out in the public is, well, I know Allegiant flies out of there. Why don't we have other airlines? I can tell you we have a Sanford Airport Authority board, which the mayor sits on, and new leadership at the airport that is really, really trying to add to that inventory of airlines. Now, that said, I love Allegiant. I fly Allegiant as often as possible. Getting in and out of Sanford Airport
is
a breeze, right? Well, there is an airline called the Breeze, but Sanford's airport is phenomenally convenient.
It is
simpler, faster, better. Mm-hmm. SFB, right? That's the call sign for our airport. So our airport is going to continue to grow in a tremendous way. We've got both air partners and industrial partners that. What is going on out there is so difficult to put in this podcast. But I will say this: anyone that's listening that would like to hear more, please reach out to me.
Right, or go to their website or our city's website, sanfordfl.gov. Yeah. But and I know the airport has their own Facebook page too. They're on social media.
Yes, and you mentioned industry. Yes. So let's go through where we are. I'll tell you, there's a very interesting expansion that is coming online. Wayne Dench, which is a distributor here of beverages, and not just alcoholic beverages. I toured their expansion just the other day, and they have everything from bottled water to energy drinks to coconut juice. It is logistics are a beautiful thing, and I'm proud to announce that Wayne Dench has recently gotten their certificate of occupancy, what in the business is called a CO, and they have occupied that space. It's a $20 million expansion. And again, back to our conversation of the burden of the tax burden. You look at a company like Wayne Dench. No one lives there that needs soccer fields, baseball fields, all of the things we mentioned. There are very, very few calls for police or fire or anything. So here we have $20 million of investment coming online here in the city of Sanford, just a short walk from City Hall. And they will be a very, very large contributor on the tax base front, but more importantly to me is on the workforce front. There are phenomenal jobs available.
Right. See, that's another thing too about economic development is that it creates it creates people's income and jobs and things like that.
Absolutely.
It's wide reaching. And so, not to mention, by the way, that building is incredible. Everybody, if you're on 46 going towards I-4, yes. Right, it's on the right, and right after the Sunrail station.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Lisa. The contractor that did that job is a group called ARCO, A-R-C-O. They're out of St. Louis, Missouri. This is a company that came to town specifically to build that project, right? A $20 million project. They are now looking at a project out by the airport that will be another $20 million project. And I just met with a metal fabricating company that is looking to engage them for their project, which will be about a $10 million project. So business sparks business, and what that energy and that synergy is creating is phenomenal here in Sanford.
Right, and so you say business sparks business. We have to attract business here in the city of Sanford. So they just don't close their eyes, these business people, and point their finger on a map and say, "Oh, let's go to Sanford and build a business." There's a lot of factors that go into that, right?
Yes, there are, and I will tell you this, Lisa. Philosophically, I am not as much of an incentive guy or economic development person. I think Sanford has so much to sell in and of itself that tax breaks and things of that nature, while they may play a small role in certain projects, we don't have to give up Sanford to get people to come to Sanford. Sanford is at the epicenter of Florida, for gosh sakes, in my opinion, the greatest state in the union.
Yeah.
But that's important, because when people hear economic development, sometimes their first question is, well, what can I get from government? What can I get from government? Well, you can have the right to be part of this wonderful community that we have. So that's an important, philosophical viewpoint that my department has and shares with many others, but we're not as much an incentive-based attractor.
Right, but I mean that's what I'm saying. Not about the tax base or anything like that or incentive, but there's so much here to offer, a business to come here. The people, the community, the sense of community, and all of the other things that would attract a business, I think, to bring a whole new.
I'll share with you a quick story, and I know you want to get to the mall, but I'll share with you a quick story. I'm working with a group right now that this is an initial investment of between $50 and $80 million. Meeting with their executives. These are a couple of folks from overseas and their local contingent. Do you know what they wanted to see? They wanted to see recreation opportunities. They wanted to see where we can live, which we have a diverse housing stock here in Sanford and Seminole County. But lastly, and most importantly, they brought their spouses to tour what? Our schools, schools. So,
that's right.
So we're taking these folks and showing them, wow, not only can you do business here, but you can live here and you can thrive here. So that's a very positive sign when spouses start showing up asking me or someone to show them our school system.
Many, many wonderful facets of Sanford and Seminole County. So and so then we have the mall. Do
we have a mall?
We think back, right, to the heydays of malls.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the heydays of our mall, because I was here for that, and watching that mall decline for many, many years. I mean, well, let's celebrate the heyday first. Seminole Town Center Mall was a destination for people from all over the region. This was one of the Simon properties originally developed this mall. It was beautiful. It was fantastic. Skateboarding, the movie Valley Girl,
Yeah.
And I'm being a little facetious there, but you talk about the heyday of that mall. Think of how many jobs were in that mall. Think of how much commerce was occurring, right? People buying and selling goods, creates sales tax, creates that synergy I was talking about. Well, malls nationally suffered very, very deeply, not just by online purchasing. Everyone wants to blame Amazon or COVID for everything, right? But that wasn't it. It was suburbs started growing, power centers started coming up, centers started being, in my private life, clients like Walmart, clients like Target, they started developing their own mini malls, right? So they pulled away from the regional malls. Yeah. One of the primary challenges I saw when I first took this job, and I've only been here about a year, right, was Seminole Town Center Mall. So this was a mall that at one point sold for $50 million. I can tell you that one of my first tasks was, let's find a buyer for the mall. We now have a buyer, and without sharing the details of what that purchase looks like, it is not for $50 million. But to put this all in perspective, the mall is currently assessed at about $50 to $60 million, depending on what boundaries you use as you make that. So in other words, county government, our David Johnson, our property appraiser, values that mall in the $50 to $60 million range. We are bringing in a buyer that is buying this mall on their balance sheet, which is a term that means they are paying cash. They are paying cash for this. Current taxable value, and I keep repeating this because this is so impressive, is $50 to $60 million. 36 months from now, I hope that assessed value is $350 million. Now, what that means is a tremendous amount of two things. One, the right partners and synergy, and two, vast amounts of capital investment. So when people say, well, Brady, is it still going to be a mall? Or Mayor, is it still going to be a mall? Or, is it all going to be torn down? I can share with you this, that I will be introducing the new owner of the mall at our second meeting in August or our first meeting in September.
You mean the commission meeting, right?
The city commission meeting, yep, on the second and fourth Monday of the month. So it'll either be the second meeting of August, which is here in about 3 or 4 weeks, or the first meeting of September.
Okay.
These folks will come in and show the community, hey, this is our plan. This is what we are looking to do globally at that mall. I can tell you there are some partners out there that I have been really, really blessed to get to know. Elevate, for instance. This is a company, indoor entertainment. A gentleman by the name of David Goldfarb has been kind of on an island out there. Anyone who hasn't been out to Elevate, please go check it out. It's unbelievable, even if you just go to look, although David will kill me for that, at least buy a Coke, right? But what David has done out there on an island, and by on an island, I mean, you go out there, the old Macy's box has been sitting empty for 5, 6, 8 years, whatever it's been. The vast majority of the mall is underused, under-maintained, and you've had some folks out there that have kept it alive, but when I say alive, I mean on life support. This new influx by this group that is purchasing the mall will be amazing. And I don't use that word lightly. It will be an absolute boom for not just Sanford, not just Seminole County, but we will be kind of the millennia of North Orlando. And
the Millennium Mall of North Orlando.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You heard it first here, folks. You heard it first out of the mouth of the Economic Development Director, Brady. And come to that commission meeting. You'll follow it on our city's website. You'll see the agenda, and that's when you'll know when you could be there. It's a public meeting. So I know we can make like 12 podcast episodes out of this, Brady. So let's because we want to talk about real quickly, touch on apartments and the Catalyst site, the Heritage Park thing, and then we could close by just thinking and describing where you think we're going to be in the next 5-20 years. Okay.
So you mentioned apartments. Let's talk about apartments, because this is something not just unique to Sanford, but pick up a national newspaper. Everyone wants to live in Florida, right? So there's been a huge influx of multifamily product, apartments. That in and of itself is not a bad thing. But what any product. I mean, you need to have a buyer to have a seller. You need to have a seller to have a buyer. Any product that's put into the market needs to have a consumer to fill that. So what we're starting to see in the apartment world is lease velocity. In other words, the speed at which new product is leasing up has started to decline and taper off a bit. Okay. So what will you see? You'll see a slowing of apartment product coming online. So fewer projects going up. That is a welcome sign to many people, because apartments bring a need for roads, they bring a need for additional schools, additional public safety. So you're going to start seeing a slowdown in the apartment market, which I think is a natural correction that is, in my opinion, long overdue here in Central Florida. But in a nutshell, the apartment product we have here in Sanford, newer product anyway, has come online. It's very nice product. It's filled up, but that pace is slowing down significantly.
Okay. And will we be replacing that with single family homes, or what happens to that market? It just kind of like stagnates for a little bit?
In a perfect world, I would like, and I think the commission shares that sentiment, that single family home ownership is the bedrock of wealth building in this country. So I want that opportunity, not just for Sanford residents, but folks that live just outside of town or live in one of our sister cities that want to move to Sanford.
Right.
So single-family homes are an absolute necessity to continue this economy. But when I say economy, I'm talking the family economy as well.
Right. And we have the great schools here too. So
Correct.
For homeowners. So the Waterfront Partners Catalyst site, Heritage Park. Can you briefly touch on that? Because we can go on and on. So
Sure. I'll briefly touch on that. About 8 years ago, the City Commission entered into a developers agreement with a group out of South Florida. Sanford Waterfront Partners is the name of the company. This is on a site that's approximately 5.5 acres right here in downtown. And again, if you're listening to this from some other part of the city or from the region, please come take a look at this site because it's beautiful. It's magnificent. Unfortunately, for many years, the site has gone undeveloped, and the City Commission and the developer have been frustrated by that.
Okay, all right. And you'll hear more about that. We may even do an episode on that. But like Brady said, come on down to Sanford in general and just take a look at this parcel of land, and then also just downtown, and the city in general.
Lisa, you will hear a lot more about that very soon.
Okay, all right, wonderful. So, Brady, so where do we see Sanford, in the near future, the next 20 years, what do you think?
Well, let's take...
Give a crystal ball.
As a crystal ball, so economics is fast, and as Mark Twain said, economics is very slow, right? But in the next 5 years, what do I see in Sanford? I see an airport that you'll be able to fly to all places that you want to fly. On our target list are places like Atlanta, Washington, D.C., Charlotte is a huge hub here on the Eastern Seaboard. So you're going to see an airport that not only offers more air travel, but it's going to offer jobs. The projects we're working on right now, and these are very, very solid paying jobs. So at the airport in 5 years, you're going to see a tremendous impact.
Okay.
Where do I see us in let's say 10 or 15 or 20 years?
Yeah.
Sanford has the unique ability. We're the oldest city in the region, right? In Seminole County, I always said back when I was mayor, Sanford proud since 1877.
Right.
What that gives us is a tremendous opportunity to not only develop, because we have a lot of vacant land, which does not exist in Florida. We have plenty of open space to develop properly.
The city, I think, is 26 square miles.
Yes, it is. And within that, again, is all of this open land that we can develop smartly. Smart growth is so important, but most importantly here in Sanford, and this is near and dear to my heart, historic preservation is huge to me, but we have a huge opportunity to redevelop as an older city. Not just the mall, 1792's corridor, some of our older housing stock in the historic district, Georgetown, Goldsboro, up in the Hidden Lakes area. We have a tremendous redevelopment opportunity.
Yeah, and we have all different types of, we have houses from the mid-century, we have the old Victorian homes. I mean, it's wonderful. There's something for everyone.
Yes.
In your style.
The first house I ever owned as a young man was 1111 Magnolia, and I still love that house. It was an opportunity to move to a great community. Now, back then, Sanford was a much different place. We have come a long way.
Yeah.
But I'll give you a quick couple numbers,
Yeah.
Lisa, to put it in perspective. Our potential for improving. So in the taxable year of 2024, so basically 2023 to 2024, the city of Sanford's assessed value increased by 11.5%. That's huge. That is a massive, I mean, by far, we were the largest jump in taxable value in Seminole County. The closest to us was Castleberry at 9.2%. But that gulf is going to grow even more because, and nothing against our sister city of Altamont or Lake Mary,
Right.
but they're pretty much built out.
Right.
You go show me 10 acres in Altamont Springs that you can develop.
Right.
It doesn't exist. 20 acres in Lake Mary doesn't exist. They're built out.
Yeah.
So we have a unique opportunity to guide our growth, to pay our bills without impacting our awesome quality of life.
Okay, I mean, that's a great note to end on. I mean, not even to mention, though, as far as like on I-4, don't we have like 4 exits on I-4? I mean, for a city, in Seminole County, it's pretty impactful, the size of what we are and what we have to offer everybody. So
yeah, that Lisa is very great because that's a great thing to bring up. There are so many
Challenges?
transportation improvements happening.
Yeah.
But challenges. Let's end on challenges because that gives us something to shoot for, right?
Okay.
I think the biggest challenge that the city of Sanford has is the challenge that most of this country is going to face. The broader economy, the national economy, is in a very, very precarious spot. In my opinion, a confederacy of dunces are running monetary policy. So it's led to massive inflation and pressures on businesses and individuals. And when both businesses and individuals are suffering, that's a problem. So I think that's a big challenge for us. But here are the positives. Everyone wants to be in Florida. We have a wonderful quality of life here in the city of Sanford. So I think we are going to be what some would call the tallest amongst midgets if the economy does continue to struggle. Sanford is uniquely positioned to survive and thrive and continue this wonderful life we have here.
All right. Survive and thrive, Sanford,
Yes.
Florida.
Yes.
Come and visit us if you've not been here. Look us up. Go to our website, sanfordfl.gov. Any last words, Brady?
Thank you for having me, Lisa. And I truly have an open door policy. And I say open door. I am rarely in the office. I like to be in the community. My cell phone's available to anyone. I'm very excited about Sanford. I raised 5 awesome young men here. My wife and I love Sanford. We always will. And I'm thrilled to be part of this community.
Great. Well, we're thrilled you're here at City Hall in this capacity. So thank you so much, Brady. And hopefully you'll be on the podcast again because we have so much to talk about. Thank you. For
Thank
your
you,
time and effort. Thank you. This is Lisa Holder, Chief Communications and Cultural Affairs Administrator for the City of Sanford. Thank you for listening to this episode of Sanford Says, and you could find this podcast wherever you subscribe to your favorite podcast and on the city website at sanfordfl.gov and all of our social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're out there. So stay tuned, stay connected to the City of Sanford. We've got a lot of great information for you directly from the source. Thank you again and have a great day now. Bye-bye.